Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. Julian here for another Drops and Trending Down episode. It's always hard to make the decision of who you're going to drop from your team, so this video is here to make your decision a little bit easier. Before we jump into the content though, guys, drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you haven't joined yet, the link to my Patreon is down below. You can join there, or you can hit that join button down below here on my YouTube channel. And by doing that, you support me, you support the channel. I really appreciate that. You also unlock some perks like early access videos, and you also unlock the ability to DM with me one-on-one if you do join on Patreon, so you can ask me any fantasy hockey questions you have at all. Let's jump right into the trending down portion of the video now. And guys, trending down does not mean you are going to be dropping these players. Trending down means that they're a player who's just not performing as well as they probably should be for various reasons. Or their deployment just changed and suddenly it's not as good as it was, and that's why they are trending down. Now, the first guy on this list is Jesper Bratt of the New Jersey Devils. He's only got 3 points in his last 6 games and 5 points in his last 10. For the standards of Jesper Bratt, that's not great. You probably picked him in the top few rounds, and for him to be doing so poorly is not ideal. Now, he did start the season super hot, so cooling off a little bit was to be expected, but definitely he's going to be doing better rest of the season than he has been lately. I wouldn't be too worried about him. Next is Dylan Guenther, and as of this recording, he only has 1 goal in his last 6 games. Really not ideal, and he was knocked off the top power play for a little bit, which also didn't really help his fantasy value. For whatever reason, the Utah coach had the bright idea to put Kevin Stenlund, a 4th-line center, on their top power play instead of Dylan Guenther. Shocker, it didn't work. Gunther's back there now, and he should have great value for the rest of season. Pavel Dorofeyev is another guy who's not doing as well as he probably should be doing. He started off the season white hot, scoring goals left and right, and he's just not quite doing that at the same pace anymore. He's only got 1 point in his last 6 games. I do believe it's a goal, but yeah, he's slowed down quite a bit. I'm still expecting him to be pretty solid rest of the season. Obviously, he's going to go on cold streaks. He's just that kind of player. He's either going to score a goal or he's probably not going to do anything for you, just the way it is. He's still shooting the puck, and I'm expecting him to still be a solid player down the stretch. Right now is a rough patch for him, though, and if you own him, you're probably like, oh man, I wish he was doing a little bit better. Completely normal. Then we have Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues, 82% rostered still, and only 1 point in his last 4 games. The problem with Robert Thomas is that his peripherals are not great. That's kind of always been his thing. He always puts up lots of points, but his peripherals are not great. Now, the thing is, we all expect him to turn it around and do a little bit better, but the underlying numbers don't necessarily suggest that. He's kind of right on par with where he's been. I still think he does turn things around a little bit, though, and I think he's going to have himself a decent rest of the year. St. Louis has definitely been struggling, though, as a team, and once they figure things out a little bit, I think Robert Thomas starts to perform a little bit better. Finally, you have Dobesh of the Montreal Canadiens, and he's been a really good goalie this year. Obviously, had a couple of rough games in a row, which is not ideal for owning him fantasy-wise. And Montembeault has always been the starter in Montreal, and even though Dobesh started getting more starts, St. Louis kind of went back to Montembeault, and with the bad performances recently, he's definitely probably going to get less starts going forward, maybe every second start at most, but yeah, he's definitely not going to be that full-time starter like a lot of people were thinking he was going to be. I was never in that boat, but he's definitely someone who's still might have some fantasy value if you're in a deep league, but in shallower leagues, he's probably droppable even at this point. Jumping into defensemen that are trending down now, Werenski of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He is a tremendous defenseman, and obviously he hasn't been as great this year as he was last year. Let's not sugarcoat it. He just hasn't. But he hasn't been bad. However, in his last 6 games, he only got 2 points, and that's pretty much all he's done. Now, his peripherals aren't that horrible. He is shooting quite a bit, and he's not really doing anything else peripheral-wise, but at least he's shooting. He's still putting up points fairly frequently. I think that, yeah, while he's having a disappointing season for where you probably draft him, you should probably hang on to Zach Werenski because he definitely could catch fire at any moment. Then we have Brandon Montour, who's having an ultra disappointing season over the last few games. Only 1 point in his last 6 with very mid peripherals. And to top things off, he hasn't been top power play pretty much the entire season. He did start off the season decently hot. He's really fallen off since then. So he's not someone I'm overly high on, but he still should be someone that has decent value going forward. Just not someone I was ever that big on going into the year. Thomas Harley's also someone who's gone on a pretty crazy cold streak. Only 2 points in his last 9 games after starting the season red hot. Not ideal, and a lot of us thought that Thomas Harley was going to be given the power play 1 to begin the season. Well, he has not been, and even though I think that is a mistake, Heiskanen obviously hasn't been doing badly there and has been scoring points as of late, whereas Thomas Harley has kind of been going on a cold streak. So I do think he's going to turn things around. He's a good enough defenseman where he doesn't need power play 1 to be fantasy relevant. He still puts up decent enough peripherals and should still put up some decent points to be a little bit fantasy relevant. Then we have Noah Hanifin, who's got 2 points in 5 games since his injury with very mid peripherals. The thing is, he's not a power play 1 defenseman, so if he's not there, his peripherals are kind of mid, and I can't really expect him to score points all that often. So he's not someone that I'm overly high on this year. But unfortunately, there are not many better options in some leagues, so you kind of have to hang on to this guy and hope that he manages to keep up some offensive production. Right now, he's doing okay, but he's not someone that I'm overly high on rest of season. And finally, Mattias Ekholm of the Edmonton Oilers. Now, he's somebody who is never really expected to score a whole lot of offense, but more than 1 point in his last 8 games. When you're on an offensive juggernaut like the Edmonton Oilers, you expect him to have a little more points than that in his last few games. His peripherals aren't horrible, but that's not good enough to keep him on your roster. You really got to hope that he starts putting up some points. I'm not dropping Mattias Ekholm, don't get me wrong. Especially if you're in a deeper league, you need to hold on to this guy. He's getting enough ice time that the offensive production should start coming soon though. Jumping into straight up drops now, and Mason McTavish is one guy who you should be dropping at this point. Now, if you want to hang on to him for the Monday and Wednesday off nights, I totally get it. But after that, he's pretty tough to hold on to. The last couple games, he's played 10 minutes of ice time and then 12 minutes of ice time. And he's really done nothing with it. Not really putting up peripherals, hasn't put up a point in so many games at this point. And it just really hasn't been great this year at all. Now, he started the year with such a great opportunity. With Barkov injured, he started the year as the number 1 center in Florida. He was on the top line as well as the top power play, and just really hasn't shown anything that incredible this year. So they demoted him from the top line now to the 3rd line, and he's not on the top power play anymore. He's still putting up points occasionally, okay peripherals, but really, unless you're in a super deep league, you don't need to be hanging on to this guy, especially since he's a natural center. Dmitry Orlov is the next guy on this list. He's still 46% rostered for whatever reason, and since losing the power play 1 spot to John Klingberg when he came back from injury, he hasn't been that incredible. His peripherals have been okay. He's still putting up points maybe once every 3 games or so. So he's okay, but he's really nothing special and definitely doesn't need to be owned in half the leagues. If you're in a super deep league, fine. He's probably okay. But other than that, you don't need to own this guy. Marcus Johansson is another guy who probably should be dropped in the majority of the leagues. With Matt Zuccarello coming back from his injury, Marcus Johansson is not really getting that elevated role anymore. He was playing on the top line with Kaprizov. He's not there anymore. He's on the second line. It's not horrible, and he still did score a goal tonight, but I'm not really expecting the kind of offensive burst he was having to continue. And finally, Sam Renzel, for some reason I discovered, is still 18% rostered. Now I get it. He had a great opportunity to start the year as the top power play quarterback in Chicago, and he completely squandered it. They gave him so many weeks there, and he did nothing. No peripherals, barely any points. And Artem Levshinov took the job and kind of ran with it. He's doing great over there, so Renzel is an easy drop at this point. He's actually the 7th defenseman now in Chicago, so definitely really squandered his opportunity. Maybe he'll get another one next year, but right now, it's really looking like he's an easy drop. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.